Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Palmetto Sports Daily. Rick Henry here in Columbia, joined today by Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston and Carmine Jamay in Greenville. And we're leading off talking some college basketball, specifically the South Carolina men. They went down to Gainesville last night and lost to the 12th-ranked Florida Gators, 76-62. 14-point defeat. Hey, that's improvement from when they met 3 weeks ago here in Columbia, and the Gators put a 47-point whooping on them. But you look at some key numbers here. Again, South Carolina, they're just getting beat to death down in the paint, on the boards. They were out-rebounded 47-30, and then points in the paint, 44 for Florida, 28 for South Carolina. The Gamecocks are 11-15 overall, 2-11 in the SEC, and they've lost 7 straight now. So how are the players dealing with this adversity and disappointment? Well, here's head coach Lamont Paris.
Yeah, I think it's hard for anybody to struggle in life. I think the older you get, in theory, it gets easier. But, these are young guys, and they got a lot of things going on, and they've had a lot of successes in life. Most all of them at this level have been successful in high school. They've been successful in AAU. They've been successful at other schools, some of them. And so handling challenges is a thing that they're not that familiar with. And so honestly, as a coach, that's part of one of your biggest responsibilities is to help them move forward in life as handling adversity and challenges. And so, we focus on that, but I think they've been good. Their energy and their spirit has been really good.
So it seems like we're at the same point that we were last year, with people wondering, is Lamont Paris going to be fired? Are they going to keep him? Well, last season they won only 2 conference games. They're stuck on 2 conference wins again this year. Last year, he was 1 season removed from making an appearance in the NCAA tournament. Now is 2 years. People are wondering, is the buyout too large to get rid of him now? So we're just kind of stuck waiting for a decision. Kevin, your thoughts?
Rick, do you know what the buyout is?
I believe it's around $12 million.
All right. I mean, that's a lot for a college basketball coach, especially in the SEC when college basketball is not your main thing, as it's not for South Carolina. But that might be the only thing in the column for reasons to keep Lamont Paris at this point. Otherwise, I don't know a reason to keep him. This team has looked lackluster for a majority of the season. Like you said, they're getting killed on the inside on a night-to-night basis. I think before last night, the average loss in this 6-game losing streak that's now 7 games was about 20 points a game. So they're not even in most of these games. So, he's not bringing in the right guy. The redshirting of Cam Scott is still something that baffles me. Like, I can't imagine that this kid can't contribute in some way to what these guys are doing right now. So just there's nothing about this move that doesn't baffle me, Carmine.
Yeah, that's a great point about Cam Scott, because such a highly touted player, one of the best recruits the Gamecocks have gotten, and he's not even seeing the court this season as a redshirt. Bringing in all these, hodgepodge of guys, and I was talking with our sports reporter, Caroline Soro, and I said, well, no surprise, the Gamecocks lost again. She said, well, if they didn't have Michi Johnson, they might get kicked out of the league, averaging 17 points a game, and the next closest is about 10.5. So, yeah, it's just really sad, and after, like you said, Rick, a couple seasons ago, making the first NCAA tournament since 2017, with a lot of guys who were holdovers from the previous regime before Lamont Paris. So, and then when you've seen, the last 2 years, only 2 conference wins last year, it's looking like it's going to be about the same. Kevin, the only silver lining is the last 5 SEC opponents for the Gamecocks are unranked right now, so maybe they can get a few more wins than last season.
Guys, I wanted to play this game with you real quick, a quick over-under game. If we take the main 3 men's South Carolina coaches, Shane Beamer, Lamont Paris, Paul Maneri, let's look 2 years into the future, over-under 1.5. How many of them are still coaching here in Columbia in 2 years? Carmine.
Wow. Yeah, wow. That question is a really good one. that I wasn't fully prepared for, but since you put us on the spot, Kevin, I'm going to say probably over if you really want to look that far into the future, with, I think, Coach Beamer having the best chance to survive that length of time. But Maneri and Lamont Paris, I mean, the way things are trending right now, it doesn't look, I would say Beamer has the best chance, then Maneri because his season is just starting as far as his second season, and Paris probably has the worst chance because the past, last season and this season, which is almost over now, have looked so bad that it's really hard to find any explanation for it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Shane because we know he's going to be here this fall. And if he can win 7, 8 games, he's going to be safe. And as far as Coach Maneri and Lamont Paris, I think the chances are pretty good that they'll probably be gone because it looks like Lamont's going to have 2 bad seasons in a row. And Paul, he's just starting his season. But, man, the SEC is loaded again with good teams. All right, that's going to do it for the opening segment.
Yeah, and in all 3 of those sports.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd probably take the under on 1.5 of those 3 coaches still being here in 2 years. I think Shane will still be around. I don't think Lamont makes it out of this season. Maneri, I think I'd probably give him 1 more year unless the bottom just drops out over the course of the next couple of months for the baseball team. But other than that, I think he'll probably get 1 more year, and then they'll kind of see where to go from there. All right, that's going to wrap up the first block for Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back in to Palmetto Sports Daily, and we're talking some college baseball now. Clemson, depending on the service that you use, they're either ranked 19th or 15th, but they're definitely in the top 20, earning a run rule win over Charlotte, 11-1 in 7 innings. They made quick work of it, and thanks to 3 home runs from Clemson. They also, after letting up a couple runs in their first game against Army, they've gone 25 scoreless innings pitched until they allowed a solo home run to Charlotte in the 7th inning. So this pitching staff is really starting to come around. And like I said, 25 consecutive scoreless innings. Clemson has a .69 walks allowed per 9 innings, the lowest rate in all of Division I. The attitude is filling up the strike zone and execution over domination. You know, some of these teams like SEC, like Ole Miss and LSU have some dominant pitchers. Clemson, I wouldn't say, other than the young man you see right there, Aiden Canuck, who's an All-American, doesn't have that many dominant pitchers, but they are filling up the strike zone and throwing 322 strikes on 468 pitches, which is a 69% strike rate, which is considered very good by the standards of college baseball. Here's Eric Bakich after improving to 4-0 on the season.
You know, outside of a solo home run, to be able to, to minimize the offensive opportunities over there against a good club, that was good to see. Good defense. And then of our 11 runs, 8 of them came with 2 outs. So 8 2-out RBIs, none bigger than Jacob Gerald's 2-out grand slam. You know, Nate Savoy continues to swing a hot bat, and it's the top of the order. Jaron Purified 3 walks tonight, and just, guys really setting the table and having a lot of quality at bats up and down the lineup. So, great team win. We'll certainly take it, and it's just exactly what we needed to get ready for Bryant.
And Brian is the next series, as you heard Coach Bakich mention. He mentioned Nate Savoy, who's a transfer. He's currently hitting .733. I know it's only been 4 games and not the stiffest competition, but still, for a transfer coming in from Loyola Marymount, that's a pretty good mark. 3 home runs in this game for Clemson, including the grand slam by the senior catcher, Jacob Gerald. And also, you had some good home runs and a win in the midweek for South Carolina, right here in our area, Rick.
Yeah, they had their first midweek game yesterday. They traveled up to Spartanburg to take on the Wofford Terriers. They got a couple of home runs in the 9th inning to make the final 8-2. The 8 runs, their highest run output so far in this young season. Now, Over the weekend, Paul Maneri really raised some eyebrows with some comments after South Carolina lost the third game of their opening weekend series to Northern Kentucky. They swept a doubleheader on Friday, but then Saturday they lost 3-2. And after the game, Coach Maneri made comments about the team possibly being tired because they were coming off a doubleheader the day before, and he also said he didn't have them ready to play. And that's not what the fans wanted to hear after you come off a historically bad season last year, 28-29, only 6 SEC wins. It's like, what were they doing all off season? Well, Coach Maneri, he addressed those comments last night after they beat Wofford.
Well, I told them, we're going to enjoy this drive home, and then we're going to turn the page. I'm not making excuses for them anymore. It's not going to be because they're tired. We need to go out tomorrow night and play with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. I was just really, I was disappointed. We had such a nice crowd at the game Saturday, and they were just waiting to have fun and explode, and we just never gave them a reason to. And I never used the word embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed because, it just happens sometimes. But we got to get some adrenaline and realize that each day is a new day. And we didn't turn the page quickly enough from last Friday night to Saturday. And I'm pretty confident that tomorrow will be different.
All right, now producer Nick and I, we were at that game on Saturday. Of course, unlike opening weekends in the past, the crowd was light. And again, the team wasn't giving them much of a reason to get excited. They just never could get the bats going. And so, yeah, the fans, for the most part, they were relatively quiet.
Yeah, and they finally got that reason, especially by capping off the win, which I got to be there at because it was a historic moment also for us on Palmetto Sports and Entertainment Network, the first live SEC game that we aired on our network in our Young Network's history. So that was a big one. But with those 2 home runs in the 9th inning, sent the crowd home happy, Rick, for a lot of fans in the upstate here in Spartanburg that don't usually get to see the Gamecocks very often. And so it was really nice to see that. And I asked Coach Maneri that question to ask him about, hey, how did you feel the guys responded to, like you said, being tired or you not having them ready to play? And it's nice to hear him say that, hey, no more excuses, because it really wasn't that good of an excuse, Kevin, to begin with, like we went over yesterday.
Yeah, I like that he basically came back and said, that's not what we should have said. And I think he realizes that was the wrong thing for him to say. So I like that he puts it out there, and they're going to move forward. And hopefully that's not something we have to go into anymore for the rest of this season with South Carolina. Maybe the biggest win last night in the state, though, belonged to the College of Charleston. And the Cougars got off to a rough start this first weekend. They lost 3 straight to Rutgers after winning the season opener on Friday. 2 of those games, they gave up double-digit runs. So that was an ugly way for Chad Holbrook's team to start things out. Last night, they went on the road to Conway to face 6th-ranked Coastal Carolina, and the College came out firing in this one. They got down early to Coastal, but they made things up. Reese Holbrook, Chad Holbrook's son, had his first RBI of the season in this one, and the College would come back, score 2 runs in the top of the 8th inning to come away with a 4-3 victory over Coastal Carolina. Carter Harrington had 7 strikeouts across 3 innings on the mound for CFC, while Kurt Rogers also tossed 3 really solid innings, getting the victory on the road for CFC last night. And it's interesting because the College of Charleston was the last team to beat Coastal Carolina last season before they went on that huge 20-plus game win streak that got them all the way to the championship round against LSU before they dropped those 2 games against those Tigers. So now they're the first team to beat them in the regular season since that loss in April of last year. So big thumbs up to Chad Holbrook and the College of Charleston picking up a huge win on the road last night. We've got more to talk about here on Palmetto Sports Daily coming up right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. I'm joined by a couple definite future Hall of Famers in the broadcasting industry, and we're talking about a Panthers Hall of Famer, Luke Kuechly, the stud linebacker and notable great guy around the Carolinas and around the country, coming from Boston College, starring for the Panthers. Short NFL career, overcame a lot of concussions, and then retired at a young age, but during his time, obviously an incredible influence. If we can pull up this video of Kuechly and the effort that he used to practice as well, joining the Hall of Fame just last week, and then this week was our first opportunity to get to hear from him. Averaged 86 tackles per game across his NFL career, 7 Pro Bowls, 5 All-Pros, one of the leaders of the Cardiac Cat team that made Super Bowl 50 in 2016, the last time the Panthers played for the Super Bowl, and now Kuechly becoming the second youngest Hall of Famer ever at just 35 years old. He spoke about the meaning of the honor.
I was in such a great situation, and I was in a defense that highlighted what, Thomas and I did really well. And we had a lot of unselfish guys around us. And you're in football and in sports, a lot of times you're a product of the situation, and people can argue that if they want. But I was in a great situation in Carolina with fantastic coaches, with great guys, and a defense allowed me to run around.
And there. About his Hall of Fame announcement by another Carolina Panther Hall of Famer in Julius Peppers. And Luke was telling the story on the Zoom call yesterday in his press moment that his neighbor called him because they were very suspicious of a couple vans that pulled up that were apparently suspicious looking. I guess they were all white with like paneling that had blacked out the windows, and parked like a couple blocks away and walked into his house. You can see he's just coming home, and then got surprised. So the neighbors called and were concerned. They called the cops, and no reason to do that in the end, because Julius Peppers was there waiting to surprise Luke Kuechly with an entire film crew to document the moment. But it was pretty funny to see that the cops were called because, hey, it was suspicious looking activity with a couple vans, unmarked cars, and walking around the neighborhood. But great moment for two Panthers to share, for us to be able to share with everyone, and for Luke Kuechly, of course, going in to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We have maybe a Hall of Fame fight coming up to show you from a local hockey game right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We wanted to continue this conversation about Luke Kuechly, the former Panthers linebacker, going into the NFL Hall of Fame. Of course, finding that out a couple weeks ago at the NFL Honors. And Kuechly found out at home when former Panther Julius Peppers surprised him. And Carmine was telling that story. Rick, your thoughts on Kuechly getting this huge honor to go in the NFL Hall of Fame?
Yeah, well, congrats to him, but I have to say, I'm a little disappointed in his reaction when they came to his house to find out about it. He was kind of cool. If you've seen the video when Ronnie Lott, former San Francisco 49er, when he got the news, very emotional, laughter, tears, and even a guy in last year's class, Sterling Sharp, his brother, told him, Shannon called him to his house, and Sterling was very emotional. So Kuechly, a little too cool for me. Maybe like when everyone left and the cameras were off, he was jumping up and down and running around his house. But I wanted to see a little more.
I think, to be fair, there was way too many decorations in that room when he came in. You saw the HOF balloons behind Peppers. So I think that might have spoiled the surprise a little bit for Kuechly and might have taken some of the emotion away from it. But, yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't have minded seeing a little bit more out of Luke going into that one. All right, now we had hockey action here in the Low Country early this morning, a 10:30 puck drop over at the North Charleston Coliseum as the Stingrays hosting Education Day against the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. Sold-out crowd, the Stingrays announced, the largest crowd ever for an Education Day, as they had over 9,700 people on hand for this one. So just an enormous crowd on hand, and they got to see some good play early on here in the first period off the shot. That's Seth Eisel coming up with one of 39 saves he would have on the day for the Stingrays. The kids loving that. Later, midway through the first period, it's going to be Jack Brackett coming up with the steal, beats Eisel for the goal. Puts Greenville on top 1-0. The Stingrays, though, would come back less than 3 minutes later. Dean Locus tipping that one in off the shot, ties things up at 1 apiece. And then things got a little testy between the guys. And I mean, pretty much real testy. You see just haymakers being thrown here. That's Caden Bolson for the Stingrays and Josh Atkinson. And Atkinson getting the better of that one for the Swamp Rabbits as he pretty much gets the takedown. The Stingrays would add one more goal before the end of the first period. That coming from Simon Pinard. And the Stingrays go on to win that one 5-3 over Greenville this afternoon. So big win for the Stingrays in front of a huge crowd. And I'm afraid to go to Rick because I know the joke he's going to make already. But
no.
Rick, what do you got?
Okay, well, first of all, it was Education Day, right? And the kids witnessed that beatdown. What are we doing? I mean, it looked like Carmine going against Ella, with Carmine being the recipient of multiple punches. Wow. Hey, look at that.
So,
Carmine,
so
how would you have reacted in that
setup?
Oh, man.
From what I'm told, the poor Stingray guy was throwing punches and having somewhat of putting up a fight before that. So I feel like the video was a little
Not
doctored
much of
toward
one.
the ending.
Yep.
But apparently they were teaching from the School of Hard Knocks. But Kevin, if your kids are watching that, what do you tell them coming out of that fight? Like, hey, you guys just witnessed a pretty, I won't say brutal, but a pretty intense fight there. What would you tell them as far as an Education Day message?
I say if you go down like that, don't bother coming home. You got to go find somewhere else to stay tonight.
Also, don't watch any of Carmine's boxing videos. That would
No, watch Layla.
yeah,
I learned from Layla Ali.
Carmine. Yeah.
I learned from Layla Ali. A couple uppercuts would have helped. Jersey over the head and just try to fight back. Do something. Anyway.
You would have got pounded through the eyes. Yeah.
I guess we've been.
We'd have to go
I
ice
guess that was
fishing
a
to
knockout
get you
performance,
out.
guys. We'll keep working on it, and we'll be right back here for another round tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Oh.